What's going on, guys? It's Boxing Lowdown, and I'm back here with another video. Delighted to be joined by my guy from Raps on TV.
Yes, what's going on,
What's
brother?
going on, bro?
Thank you very much.
Good to have you, man. Yeah, I thought it'd be a good time to get you here and talk about what's going forward for 2020, man. I mean, we've had a great 2019, and moving on to 2020, I wanted to speak to you about, who's got a bright future ahead of them, maybe the prospect of 2019 going into 2020, fights that you might want to see in 2020, and how you think the whole year is going to shape up. So I'll start. If we have a look at 2019, I think my prospect of the year was probably Daniel Dubois. I think a lot of people looked at Virgil Ortiz. He was a good prospect, and there are other guys out there for sure. But I think Daniel Dubois has had a great year. He's been consistent. He's been out there. Some of the guys he's fought. I mean, like the last guy, Fujimoto, wasn't ever going to beat him, but he's active. He defeated Nathan Gorman. He's got this campaign to get every belt, and I think he's set up for a promising 2020 when you look at him now being in the top 15 in a lot of the rankings now. So what about your thoughts, man? Who do you think's got a good year ahead of them?
So who would I say I think's got a good year ahead of them? A name I'm going to go with, which might go under the radar, is not UK based, unfortunately, at the moment, but I'm thinking Caleb Plant. I think he's US based fighter. I think he's got really good skill set, good IQ. Last year he came up against a guy, Jose Escutuquay. Escutuquay had a couple of losses, but he had a reputation of being a big puncher. Plant put him down 3 times within that fight, early doors as well. I felt that he showed that he's got a very high level of boxing IQ. When I hear him speak, he sounds like somebody that lives the sport as well and takes it very seriously. So that's probably what I would say from the US. Caleb Plant, I know he's due to fight February or March, so I would say him. On the UK side, who would I say? I don't know how quickly he's going to come through, but I hope he has an exciting year. There's a guy called Dennis McCann, fighting that bantamweight, and I might be wrong there, but I remember it's a smaller weight. And he had a good year again with Warren, coming through that BT Sport, getting on the televised platforms as well. Great skill set, seems to have power and speed for his weight division. Do I think that he's going to go for titles next year? No, but I think he could have another promising name, get a promising year, so he get his name out there and add more cares to the highlight reels.
How do you think the year shaped up on the sticking to the British shores for a minute? How did you think the year shaped up for Queensberry and Matchroom, the two main promotional outfits of the year?
I think they've both had a good year. Because like you said, Dubois, I felt that what we did mention was the Gorman fight. I felt that was a big fight going into it. The card. Usually I do feel Frank Warren's cards are pretty decent, even though there's more domestically, but they do sort of deliver good fights. I feel they've had a good year. I think Matchroom have obviously had a better year. The amount of times they've done the O2, they're out in the US,
branched out to Spain and
exactly.
Italy,
so they're doing. I mean, they had a show in Barcelona. They do the Monaco. So I think. And I don't want to say this too disrespectful Frank Warren, because obviously he's got Tyson Fury, he's got Anthony Yarde, he's got Dubois, he's got Leon Sniper Richards, who I think is a good prospect for this year as well, who I probably would have added as well. I just think Matchroom might not have the stable, but they've got the infrastructure and ability to create big nights. Whether that's bringing a US guy or an international guy like Lomachenko into the UK to fight Luke Campbell. Whether it's going to be now Joshua, who's got the belt, so clearly we know he will be fighting in the UK.
100%.
I would imagine. So that's. So I think for me, I think they've both had equally good years, but I just feel we're now looking at Matchroom and Frank Warren as two different vehicles. Because Matchroom have got the DAZN platform in the States. They're doing this KSI stuff, which people want to like it or hate it.
It's bringing in the numbers.
So listen, this is business. So and it's helping us, even at our level, it's helping us. So it's hard to say. What do you think?
I think that I agree with everything that you've said. Really, I think both of them have had a pretty decent year. I think let's start off with Queensberry. I think that they've got a very good stable. I mean, the likes of Daniel Dubois, they've got Anthony Yarde, like you said, Tyson Fury at the top. They've got Joe Joyce in there. So there's a lot of mix there between exciting prospects, champions and contenders as well. Over at Matchroom, it's the same sort of thing. I think their year was very dependent on whether Joshua won the rematch. I think if he lost that rematch, obviously Matchroom have still got the talent, but a lot of them now are getting to that stage where they're coming towards the end of their tenure. You've got the likes of Kell Brook, who hasn't fought all year. You've got some top names in Matchroom that retired last year, and Bellew, who's not fighting anymore. So I think that their next crop of fighters to become pay-per-view stars, the likes of Anthony Joshua, Callum Smith, and now Billy Joe Saunders. I think it was important for Joshua to win, which he did. So that was important for them. So I think both of them had very good years, and I think next year it's going to be, what I'd like to see is just more crossover fights, man, just in terms of the promotional outfits and the networks working together. We've got a good start.
I was going to say.
In February with Top Rank, ESPN and PBC and Fox working together. I think that is a sign of good things to come. Hopefully that will be able to potentially work with Terence Crawford's favour, with him being able to cross over and fight over there at the PBC. But yeah, for next year, man, one of my wishes is just for these promotional outfits to work together more.
And I think, sorry, Karen.
I just think that I understand where these guys are coming from. I understand where Al Heyman, for example, at the PBC will want to keep a lot of things in house, but we still want to see these fights, man. I think the fans are owed these fights.
Best for the best. And I mean, I agree with you. I think once, and this is where I say sometimes it's that marination, because I think once the money's on the table, where neither network can ignore it, I think they get the business done. I'm a bit surprised even with Wilder Fury, and I think that's the best place to start. The rematch has been announced, so we all know February 22nd. It's going down in Las Vegas. It's going to be pay-per-view on Fox. It's going to be pay-per-view on ESPN. Going to be The interesting one is what happens in the UK, because I'm hearing Sky are going to bid for it because they know it's a huge fight. So you're now starting to see that, because I'm looking at it and I'm thinking, actually, this is a mega fight. Like a lot of my casual friends who are casuals are saying, listen, this is a huge fight, and I'm like, okay. I say anticipation-wise,
my mum was asking me about it. You know what I mean?
So it's a big fight. So for me, I would say, I think you will see the business get done when the numbers are right. Mayweather Pacquiao was the example. I think in between, what happens is the fighters don't deliver, whether it's a loss or the managers can't get their agreements in terms of sitting down at the table because of whatever's going on. In terms of Spence versus Crawford, I still think that only because of the accident,
I can't see it happening next year.
This year, not 2020. I just can't. I think, especially because of the accident, they're talking about Spence coming back in May or June. That they're saying could be a big opponent. Who knows? I think it's more likely to be a Danny Garcia, even more less so Pacquiao. So that means, is he going to fight Crawford in December? I don't see it happening.
Can't see it, no.
I mean, so that's going to take place there. But with the Wilder versus Fury, though, what I would say is that is a huge fight.
Massive fight, man. Huge fight and huge significant impact on the heavyweight division.
Big time.
You've got the Ring magazine title on the line, which is a big feat for me. I mean, I follow the Ring magazine so closely, and you've got. It's just going to send implications throughout. Whoever wins this is going to be looked at. I mean, Joshua still has a very credible resume, the best resume out of everybody in that division, in my opinion. But a lot of people are going to look at that winner being the number one or the main guy, or in that division. And I think it's important for us to just get a clear winner. Try and avoid any controversy. And I know that they're talking about a third fight already, but in my opinion, hopefully we don't get to that. I'm hoping for a conclusive outcome, whoever wins, and we could then see these guys fight each other, man, because it's marinated long enough. We spoke about it before, and I think that it's time now to get more of these fights going for 2020.
And you're so right. And I think just to say, with the third fight, I think really it only happens if Wilder loses, because obviously because Wilder being the champion. I know there's a talk about Bob Arum saying there's an option, but you would imagine that if Wilder is the champion, unless he decides not to, I would imagine he would want the immediate rematch if he should lose. If Fury was to lose, well, he's still coming in as a contender, so maybe he's the one that could then take up that option. But
what about, sorry to interrupt, what about Dylan White? What do you think about him?
I mean, he's had a Marmite year, because I think he started the year where everyone loved him, in my opinion, after the Chisora win back in last year.
Real fan favourite,
exactly, and what he's doing with people like John Pester, IQ, Xavier Miller. You know, he's bringing
Yep.
people in. You know, Richard Riakporhe.
Yep.
So I think he really became a fan favourite. Then delivered in the Rivas. I missed that fight. I wasn't here for that, but he delivered there. And then within the next day or a week later, everything was about the B sample.
Everything turned
And
south.
I think it turned into a bit of hate, unfortunately, because you know, and I'm not saying this from what my opinion was. I always felt, you know, stuff like this, you've got to let the facts come out.
Yeah.
So I wasn't saying anything for or against, but you just, you know, we're not blind. You go and look at the YouTube comments. I don't think
Twitter comment, everything, man.
Yeah, it
was,
didn't bode well for him. So
didn't bode
I
well.
like, but to get to your point though, I like Dillian Whyte because of what he is more than a boxer. But I also, from a boxing perspective, I like him because he's really improved. You think back to the Joshua loss, and he's gone on strength to strength from then. He hasn't lost, and some of the opponents are going to be questionable. I'm not going to lie. For me, I don't rate Lucas Pound, but knocking out Chisora the way he did was big.
Yep.
The Rivas fight was big. The Parker fight was big. So those three alone tells me that this guy wants to compete at the highest level, and he's working hard enough to do that.
Yeah, I mean, look who he's calling out for early 20. He wants Andy Ruiz or Povetkin.
Yeah.
So he's not taking no soft touches on the way to Wilder, man. He's wanted to, and credit to him, he wants to be in there with the top guys, and I hope that gets recognised. And I'd love to see, let's say if Wilder does defeat Fury, I'd love to see that next.
Yeah.
I'd love to see Dillian Whyte take
More than Wilder.
No, not
Joshua?
not more than Wilder,
Yeah.
Joshua. No, obviously I'd love to see that, but I'm being realistic and thinking that's probably not going to happen next.
Yeah.
Could be wrong. Hope I am, but I think White should, you know, get a crack at Wilder.
Yeah, I think
That's the route he wants to go down. So
Yeah.
I think he's been there long enough.
And I agree. I mean, I do think if Wilder wins conclusively, like in terms of stoppage, obviously, and knocking out Fury, I do think we might see a Joshua fight. I do think, because I think he will take a lot of confidence that he's been able to knock out Fury. I think this is what I mean. In my opinion, the invincibility around Joshua, I think, it's gone a bit because he was stopped by Ruiz. So I think if Wilder mentally gets in his head and realises I've knocked out Fury, I think there'll be no fear to stop him. I think the key then is, unfortunately, is going to be the business side of it.
That's going to be horrible again.
They've got to take 50-50.
Yeah.
And I don't think Wilder can say he earns more, because he doesn't. Commercially, and Joshua can't ask for more because he's got a loss.
He suffered a loss.
So
Stock
I think
has dropped a little bit.
Exactly. So 50-50, and then the winner takes a bigger shot. But yeah, obviously, as that's what happens with boxing. You just kind of divert. But yeah, so with Wilder Fury, with Dillian Whyte, I think he's had a great year, and I think if he can get either of those two guys, probably after the performance against Hunter, I would like him to see him fight against Povetkin. I think he showed how tough he is in that fight. You know, Hunter really started that fight fast. But I think, I would like to see Dillian Whyte, Povetkin. You know, that'll be a big. Let's do O2 pay-per-view, and then all the best to him, man. It's going to be tough though. But for you, so for 2020, who are you really keeping an eye on? I know you mentioned your prospects 2019 and the guys. But who else are you kind of looking out for in 2020, or is there anybody you feel is a wild card that people should keep an eye out for?
I'm really excited about the lightweight division. I think that we saw that with Gervonta Davis now in that division, and you look at some of the names in there. You've got Lomachenko, you've got Devin Haney, you've got Luke Campbell still in there. Richard Comey can bounce back. Teofimo Lopez is making noise. I'm looking forward to that.
Fortuno,
next year.
He's the man. He's a
Robert Easter still in there.
Exactly. I mean, maybe even Mikey Garcia might want
to drop back down. So, I mean, I know he's fighting Jesse Vargas, but I mean, who knows what's going to happen, man? And I think that's going to be interesting. I also think the fate of Taylor, Prograis, Ramirez, those three. I've seen Prograis hinting about moving up to 147.
Yeah, he's been calling out Crawford as well.
Called out Crawford, and I think that would be very interesting. Love to see him get up in the mix with that, and I think that it's interesting all over. I'm interested in Sonny Edwards, his development. I think he's been looking very good. I think that
he's skillful boxer.
London Lomachenko for me. Absolutely.
I mean, people underestimate what he's doing because, again, of the size, but he's so nimble. Sometimes you're just is he even boxing?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? He's just standing in front of him and he just moves. And
quality fighter to us. Great guy as well. He is. I think that there's a lot of fighters that are shaping up for a good 2020 if we can get around the politics. That's all the problem for me. I think Dubois is an interesting shout if he can get Joyce for next year. I know Joyce was supposed to fight Hook, but that fight obviously got cancelled. I think Frank Warren's going to have to dig into his pocket and pay Joyce what he needs for that, because Joyce doesn't really need that Dubois fight. I think Dubois needs it more. I think that's going to be very interesting. The Callum Smith, Billy Joe Saunders situation that needs to get resolved. I think the Charlo brothers, I think that they're like Jamal Charlo needs to fight one of these guys. I think he needs to fight Andrade now. He called him out. So yeah, I think there's a lot going on, man. It's impossible to track everything because the light heavyweight division is another division where we want to see more unification fights there. So Usyk, he want to see him against one of the top guys at heavyweight. So there's a lot of different plot lines and stories that I'm looking forward to for 2020 that hopefully we can see.
Yeah, and I mean, honestly, it's hard to say anything different because you've mentioned all the
there's so many to name,
but you mentioned the key ones as well. But I would say, but like you said, I think there's just so many options. There's just so much like potential matchups, like matchups you don't even think about. You know, I think if I was to say what I would like to see this year, if we can see a bit more of maybe guys changing weights, so maybe you get a guy that's a 135, maybe doing something with somebody at 140 and the 147 maybe comes down, or maybe like somebody going up, especially between sort of like your middle and super middle. Do you know what I mean? Maybe seeing something go there. You know, Eubank Jr. What's he gonna do? I think he needs to get in there with Charlo. I know he's got his belt sort of like by.
I wouldn't mind the Korobov rematch.
There you go. Yeah, exactly. That would, because we would still want to see him prove that he could beat him. Because for me, I know he got criticism, but again, I just said, look, he didn't know that was going to happen. He still stepped in the ring, so you've got to give credit where it's due sometimes. But yeah, I think there's just so much that, and I know we're going to forget about, because I'm just
there's
thinking,
going to be loads we're going to forget about.
Craig Richards, Shakan Peters, that's a domestic fight. Really good. You're probably looking at Anthony Fowler versus Catterall. You know, they want that rematch. Cheeseman needs to bounce back as well.
Liam Williams had a good year.
Liam Williams just finished off with a great year, so he should be challenging for some type of a European title. And World is probably too much, but listen, if one of the guys want to give it a chance, you know, Julian Williams is there. I mean, even imagine Liam Williams versus Kell Brook.
Great fight, man.
Make that 154, make that
great fight. Yeah, and Liam Williams will be up for it. No doubt about it.
It'll be a huge domestic fight.
Can't see Brook taking it. There's a big question mark over Brook as to where he wants. I think we'll get some clarity for that next year. What's going to happen with him?
I mean, he's announced to fight, right? He's fighting
February against Mark DeLuca. Don't know much about him, if I'm being honest, but again, it's another tune-up fight. It's not anything that we're really too interested in.
Not at all.
Hopefully he just looks good in that, and then we can see something in the summer.
Yeah, I mean,
if it's Khan, it's Khan. Whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean?
You hit the nail on. He's literally let the whole year go.
Yeah,
the whole year's gone. So, yeah, I think for me, Brook is where he is. But again, Tyson Fury, he beats Wilder. You know, if he takes the rematch, if he doesn't take the rematch, does he want to fight Joshua? I mean, there's so much opportunities in 2020.
Let's end it on this then. Because we're just diversing so much, there's so much to talk about. But if we have like the top 3 fights we want to see for next year, it's going to be difficult. But I'll start with mine. Give you time to think of yours. Realistic ones. Shall we go realistic, or shall we
just do both? Because you never know. But
we'll go
more realistic.
That could happen. Well, start off with, I'd say, the heavyweight division. It could happen. I mean, obviously, we're going to see Fury and Wilder next year. I'd like the winner to fight Joshua. It's not totally unrealistic for that to happen, because I think both promotional outfits know that time's running out and they're going to have to cash in on this soon. And I think, if we can see Joshua against the winner of Fury and Wilder next year, I think that would be a good place to start for me. So I'll have that as my number 1. Number two, man. Is Spence Crawford realistic? Is it even realistic anymore?
I don't think so.
It's not, is it? No.
Not this year.
I'd say number 2 then for me would be to Crawford to fight one of the PBC guys. Maybe Sean Porter. Start there. I'd like to see Crawford fight one of them. It doesn't matter who, but it has to be like either Porter, Pacquiao, or Danny Garcia or someone. I think it's pivotal now for Crawford to make that move, not like move promotional outfits, but just fight someone over there. He's 33 years old now or so. I think he's got to make the move now before he gets out of his prime. And the third one, I'm going to say Tank Davis against Loman, man. I'm going to say that. I'm going to say, like, it can happen. I mean, it's not. We've seen that PBC and Top Rank can work together. It's difficult, but it's not totally unrealistic. And I think Loma wants it.
Yeah.
Bob Arum wants it. There's no doubt in my mind that Top
no
Rank
doubt.
want it. But I think Mayweather Promotions need to let Davis off the leash now, and hopefully we can see that in 2020, maybe towards the end of 2020.
Yeah, no, great shouts on all three of them. I think if I'm going to try and start back, because I think with the Loma and Tank, I think once we see the numbers from this weekend that's just gone, I think that would be a good indication. Because I agree with you. I think that fight could happen. But I think if the numbers show that actually he really is, his stock has risen, then I think, because it's a huge fight.
Massive.
It's Vegas, you know what I mean? Like, it's a huge fight. And I think with the Sean Paul, I think if I'm going to start mine, but for me, definitely, I think Crawford, and I would have said PBC fighters, and I think it has to be, in my opinion, one of these two. I can't see Pacquiao because he didn't fight Pacquiao when
He was at Top Rank. Yeah.
So, but for me, I think it's either Sean Porter or your Dennis Ugas. And I think if you go back this year, you look at that Porter versus Ugas fight. That was a tough fight. A lot of people felt Porter
Ugas
lost.
did enough to win that.
Exactly. You thought Ugas did enough to win. Exactly. I think he brings all the elements that actually you want to see Crawford now, not just challenge himself, but probably face somebody that's taller, or in terms of Ugas, or face somebody in Porter that's just going to be on you like a dog, non-stop. So I think you're right. He does have to fight somebody from the PBC side, and it should be one of those two guys. Because realistically, the Garcia fight won't happen.
No.
He's due to fight in February, so it doesn't mean he can't fight later in the year. But I just think, these two guys, I think they've had reasonable years, and I think actually they would give him the right type of test. So that would be my fight there. From a heavy, it's hard to say realistic or unrealistic in terms of this fight, but I would like to see Dubois fight somebody like, and I'm going to say his name like an FA Ajagba. Again, he's a heavyweight. That's
FA Ajagba, he was out not too long ago.
He was out too long, exactly. Now that probably wouldn't happen, but that group, that category of a heavyweight, I think Dubois needs to, because I think he's had a great year, as you said. He's done well with Gorman as well. So I think Gorman, if you look at his skill set, definitely British level. So I think now we want to see Dubois European fringe world level. Do you know what I mean? I think that's what we need to see. And then this one is again, only because we're harsh on our people, but I think Canelo has to take on Billy Joe Saunders or a Liam Smith this year. And Callum Smith.
He beat Liam Smith, didn't he?
He beat Liam Smith. Callum Smith. And the reason why I'm saying that is because I think they both offer something different to his repertoire. So that his phase one's tall, obviously Billy Joe Saunders is very skillful. And I also think that, for him, if you were to look at his career and say, actually, you would start to go down as being the pound for pound, probably have that element of being full, everything that goes against you being forgotten, because Billy Joe Saunders, I think, presents something different. And I think Callum Smith, although again both of them are beatable, I think again his height, his reach, his skill set, he's tough, he's natural at 168. I think that presents something difficult for Canelo as well. So that's what I would like to see, and I don't see why it's unrealistic, because they're all on the same network.
They're all on the same banner.
And
I think both of them two need big years. Smith and Saunders, whether it's 100%. Either them fighting Canelo or each other, I think they need big years for sure.
Exactly. So I think that's a really good shout. In terms of, as one question I want to ask though, in terms of we speak about the zone. This one's going to be a bit controversial.
Okay.
Are you happy with what Sky Sports are giving you as a boxing fan in terms of content, in terms of fights, in terms of?
Not ultimately, no. I don't think they've had a great year. If I'm being honest, 2019 wasn't a great year for Sky. I saw a tweet actually. It's funny you say that, from Adam Smith. And he said, 2019, great year for Sky. And the thing that concerned me in his tweet was, one of the first things he said was, we got our subscriptions up and, KSI Logan Paul. And I'm like, look, I mean, it's not
sustainable.
It's not something that as a hardcore you really want to see.
Exactly.
You understand what it's got to be pushed out there for everybody else, and it brings in the casual, but I thought for them to really speak about that first before anything else was a bit worrying. So I'd like to see a bit more from Sky. I think that their Saturday fight nights have been really dropped down.
Yes.
Eddie Hearns obviously had his focus on DAZN and Crack in America, but hopefully that changes next year and we get to see more quality Saturday fight nights, with some good fighters on the cards. And we saw a good start of it, with I think it was
the next year?
No, it was Callum Smith. Callum Smith against
yes.
John Ryder, so
Yes,
that was the one.
exactly.
Yeah, that was a good Saturday fight night. I think we need more of those for next year. And a lot of the fights go on pay-per-view that were last year. Were they really pay-per-view worthy? It's not all of them.
Yeah.
But you know, understand that these fights need to be made. So I'm willing to put my hand in my pocket for them if we can have a good sustainable run of Saturday fight nights.
Yeah, no, good. I think, and that's you knew exactly where I was trying to go with that, and I think that's something I think Sky needs to look at, because for me,
I think BT have had better fight nights than Sky.
Exactly, and I just don't know with Sky, because they've had the ability to show some BBC fights. Obviously, the top-ranked BT ESPN deal is there. Everyone says there's an ITV deal with PBC, but I don't think there is, because it's not coming
anymore.
Exactly, because all we've ever seen is pay-per-view with a UK fighter, really. We did get to see, there was one fight, was it Garcia Spence, I think they put on pay-per-view, that was
on ITV.
On ITV,
I think they had Pacquiao Furman as well. That was it.
The two. So for me, I think Sky could be competing. You look at Davis this weekend. Davis, another his name, Gamboa. Jack West Pascal, great card. Weekend before he had the Charlo Harrison fight. Again, good card. FA Jaguar was on that.
Yep.
So there's been a few cards that have been happening out in the US, which Sky should be just dipping their hands on and just saying, listen, we're going to televise that, because we know that boxing fights, if they don't watch it live, we'll do a replay on one of our multiple Sky channels, and they're going to watch it.
Yeah, absolutely.
So yeah, I think that's an interesting dynamic, what happens there, especially with the DAZN. But bro, listen, it's been a pleasure
as always.
Thank you very much. We've got to make sure we keep doing this more often. Look forward to getting you on the show. So guys that are watching, we're going to be doing our first show Tuesday 14th of January, so make sure you listen out to the live podcast and tune into all of our platforms, which is Facebook and Instagram. How about yourself, bro?
For those that don't follow, just make sure you guys follow Boxing Lowdown on Instagram, all one word, Twitter, boxing_lowdown, and the Facebook and YouTube socials are the same.
Perfect, man. So guys, listen, pleasure. Look forward to a great 2020 with more boxing and more discussions like this. So once again, brother, thank you very much.
As always.
Respect, brother.